Hello, wonderful people out there. This is Daniel, and this is my first political recording. We're going to talk today about some major topics. Number one, the presidential race in the United States, the primary race, more specifically. Number two, democracy. Number three, betrayal and identity politics. So, speaking about the race, I want to come out straight from the beginning. I'm a big Bernie Sanders supporter. No, big is not even, it's not even a description really. I am 100% behind Bernie Sanders. As big as you can be. No one in the United States comes anywhere close to Bernie Sanders on policies, on integrity and authenticity. Nobody. Nobody is as uncorrupted as Bernie Sanders. No corporate money, no PAC money, none of that bullshit. Just small dollar donations from average people. So that's where I stand. I support Bernie Sanders 100%. If I could support him 150%, I would be supporting him 150%. And this is the reason why I'm starting this recording. He needs all the help from everyone, as much as he can get. A few more weeks until the primary in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina starts. Now we have to put everything together. We have to get that lead and we have to get it out massively. The DNC is going to still try and cheat us, still going to try and rig the primary. We have to have such overwhelming numbers that there's no denying that Bernie Sanders is the number one candidate for the Democratic primary. So, this is the reason why I'm starting this channel. My name is Daniel, and let's get started. Democracy should be a system where the overwhelming majority of the people decide what happens in the country. Is that always the case? No. Even in every democratic system, you vote for representatives, and some of their policies might be supported by the majority, and some of them will not be supported by the majority. I would favor a system with no representatives, just simply people who write policies, and you vote on the policies. You don't vote on the people. You vote on each policy individually. That I would see as a much more ideal democratic system, but we're not there yet. With the system in place, we have to try and fight for candidates that will truthfully execute those policies that they run on. Bernie Sanders is of course the one we can trust the most to do that. But even when he wins, we have to hold him accountable. But that's another topic. I want to actually start off with saying, in this kind of democracy, it's actually right now not a fight of left versus right, of women versus men, of black versus white, of old versus young. None of that matters. It's about the 99% of us against the 1%. Everyone can unite against the ruling elite, which are just a handful of billionaires and their rich puppet politicians. We're talking about the Clintons, we're talking about Trumps, we're talking about the Bloombergs, we're talking about the Jeff Bezos of the world, of the United States especially. And even foreign money. I mean, if you're taking corporate PAC money, most of these corporations are multinational corporations. Is that not foreign interference? I would argue yes. So, we want to get money out of politics, of course. At least corporate money out of politics. Individual, or we can argue if we want to make it more of a everyone gets an equal share of money from the government to run his campaign, and you make what you want out of that money. And leave out all donations, all corporate, or as I believe even Amy Klobuchar suggested, to have democracy dollars, to give every individual a certain amount budget to donate to candidates, and you can donate from that batch as much to one candidate or to different candidates until your budget for this donation is out. There's a lot of good ideas in there. But right now, we have got to get someone in power who is uncorrupted and who will fight for the people. And we need to unite, both across gender, across race, across religion, across even political labels: conservative, liberal, progressive, right-wing, extremist. Yeah, we all need to unite. Yeah, on a moral level, I see right-wing extremists hating Jews and whatnot as a problem. But they can still vote for the right policies, or they can vote for the wrong policies and the wrong guy. And we're gonna be stuck with someone like Trump. We need to get as much people on board of this movement as possible. And the establishment media will point out, oh, you have some right-wingers supporting Bernie Sanders, or you have some rich white or some whatever, criminals supporting Bernie. So we have also the same on Trump's side. You want those guys rather voting for Trump, or you want those guys who are voting for Bernie Sanders? We need everyone on board. Everyone we can get. We need to unite. Forget the labels. This is about the 99% against the corporate elite. And Trump is part of that corporate elite. Yeah, he ran in 2016 as an outsider, as an uncorrupted candidate, mostly sponsoring himself, and some grassroots donations. Definitely he had that. Yeah, and Hillary had the big corporate backing, and she lost. This time it's the other way around. Trump has a huge amount of money. Huge. The latest figure I heard that he raised in 2019 was 400 million. You heard me right, 400 million. This is what we're against. Incumbent president, billionaire himself, raised 400 million. He can throw in from his own pocket easily another 400 million, if not more. I don't think he has that much. He doesn't like spending his own money on this. This is more an enterprise for him to get more money. But regardless, there's potential for nearly endless money on his side. He is now the establishment. All the things he promised to fight for, don't lower Social Security, don't cut Medicare, destroy NAFTA and TPP, which robbed the Midwest of millions of manufacturing jobs, pull out of Iraq and Afghanistan. All these things he hasn't done. Yeah? He has done the opposite. He's cut Social Security, he's cut Medicare, he's cut massively to Affordable Care Act. He's increased our troops in the Middle East by a lot. Yeah, all of these troops going to Saudi Arabia. What do you think this is? Yeah, again we're spending, the US is spending again millions and billions on putting troops in foreign countries instead of giving healthcare to their people, instead of giving affordable housing to their people, instead of making college affordable to everyone. Yeah, everyone should have the same chance, the same start in life. What you make of it is your thing, but you should have a fair chance to make it, no matter your social background. Instead, the government keeps putting in more and more money into military, more and more money into Wall Street, supporting the billionaire class, and this is what we have to fight against. And I understand people on the right, people who voted for Trump, I understand that. There's economic anxiety, and the Democratic Party has let people down for the last 40 years, since Franklin D. Roosevelt. Those were the good days. That guy got re-elected 3 times. Yeah. They only started implementing term limits when they realized you can't beat a Democrat who runs on policies that actually help the average person. And since then, you've had, few terms Republican, few terms Democrat, and in the end, they kind of both do the same thing. One side plays identity politics, bad immigrants, bad Muslims, bad whatever, gay people and whatnot, and would take your money and put it into billionaires' pockets. And the other side, says, good immigrants, good gay people, good Muslims, and we still take all your money and put it into the billionaires' pockets. In the end, it's the same game. And we have to change that. And we have to come together as people and say, enough. The billionaires have more than enough. It's not even good for them anymore. It's not healthy. We should distribute that money. We should give everyone a fair chance. We should bail out average people instead of Wall Street and the big banks for a change. Yeah? This is what this is about. And that's why I'm a big Bernie supporter. Coming to Bernie, it's amazing how he's been climbing up and up and up in the polls. There was a time he was stagnant around 12-15%. Now he's at 20. Joe Biden is at 19. Joe Biden is at 18. Joe Biden has been sinking. He was the highest before he entered the race at polling at over 40%. That's when he was the highest. And then he entered the race and he kept dropping. Yeah. And that's when he has complete corporate media support. Complete. Yeah. Same goes for Pete Buttigieg. What TYT Investigates has found out about Pete Buttigieg should be all over the media. If they would hold their establishment candidates to the same accountability as they do Bernie Sanders, this would be all over the media. Biden would be done. Pete Buttigieg would be done. Yeah, they do attack Bernie. They do smear him. And still, he is the resilient candidate. He has gone up in polls since the Elizabeth Warren smear. Now, is it technically possible that Bernie said this? That a woman can't become president? Technically, it's possible. It's unlikely. Well, lots of people have debated why it's very unlikely. But let's just say for a moment it's possible. Let's say for a moment, thought experiment, he said that. He said, Warren, a woman can't win, you should not run. Basically, that's what she's implying. And she's implying Bernie Sanders is a sexist. Even though her campaign came out and said, we do not believe Bernie Sanders is a sexist. Coming out with saying Bernie Sanders said this is implying he's a sexist. And this is number 101 identity politics. Number 2, this is done specifically to try and hurt Bernie and the progressive movement. You could have the scenario that Bernie actually said that, which I don't believe for a second, but we'll take into consideration it's a possibility, and for one moment think, okay, Bernie said that. Warren doesn't have to come out and say Bernie said this. And if he did say that, why shouldn't she come out right after he said that? Oh, Bernie said I can't win, but I'm going to run anyway. No. She's coming in right now because Bernie is winning and is rising in every poll and is getting the lead in the early states. That's right now. Oh, I have to destroy him. I have to try and attack him to destroy the progressive movement. Yeah? Even if someone said something bad, but you realize all his policies are great, the progressive movement is great, we have to support it. Yeah? Trump says lots of bad things. His supporters will cover for him. Warren is coming out, not covering for him. No, she's attacking him. on things that have nothing to do with policy. She's trying to kneecap the progressive movement, not Bernie Sanders. This is what this is about. And that's why it's a huge disappointment in Elizabeth Warren. For those, I'm one of them, who had some hope in her to say she might actually, if she drops down in the polls and sees she doesn't have a chance to win, if she would, and Bernie would drop out, everyone knows. Bernie has repeated it time and time again. If I don't get the nomination, I will support whoever the candidate is. Bernie ran 37 rallies for Hillary Clinton, even though he hated her guts, because he believes that would still be better than Trump. Hillary ran for Obama, I think 10 rallies, much less than Bernie, much less than Bernie. Held maybe one joint event with Obama and much less rallies than Bernie did for Hillary. And Bernie will do that again if he doesn't get the nomination. But our hope is he does. Warren's strategy must be very calculated. This will probably not help me, but it will damage Bernie. And then maybe one of the establishment candidates will get the nomination. This is also the reason why Warren is in the race, even though she knows, there's Bernie, and he'll push for progressive things, and I could just back him 100%, and we could really have a strong progressive united movement. No, I'm going to run, and I'm going to do like half of whatever Bernie Sanders suggests, or a quarter. Bernie makes a policy, I position myself under Bernie, a little bit more towards the establishment, but enough to start taking away from Bernie supporters, and by arguing, I'm much more clever at pushing through policy. I get more done, and I'm a woman. That's why she's in the race, to take away from Bernie. There's no doubt about that anymore. There was no reason, even if Bernie Sanders said that, to come out at the 11th hour and say Bernie's a sexist. If you believe that, why not attack him in debate after debate? You didn't. You held together because you wanted to gain from his supporters. And now at the 11th hour, you say, oh no, he's a sexist. Yeah, and only a woman can win. That's why you, Elizabeth Warren, are smearing him like this. You've run out of strategies. You're a puppet of the corporate elite, Raytheon, and the military-industrial complex. That's why you voted for Trump's big, massive military budget increases. Don't tell me you're on the progressive side. You have stabbed the progressive side in the chest. You've stabbed Bernie, not in the back, in his fucking chest from the front. Looking into his face, you stabbed him. And I could feel his tears running down his face, even if they weren't there. Inside, his heart was breaking, seeing you stab him like that. And the progressive movement felt that. And that's why you have this massive anger. And I'm there as well. Massive anger. And it's interesting how Warren's campaign before the debate says, no, we want to settle this. We don't think Bernie is a sexist. And then she still goes out on the debate and confirms everything she's said before. She doubles down. She triples down. Bernie even reaches out to give her a handshake, wants to clear it. She said, no, you called me a liar in public. You called him a liar. You called him a sexist. And now you want to play the victim card. Screw you. The problem comes here. We need your supporters. All of us here need to unite. We need not only Warren supporters, we need to unite Tulsi supporters, Yang supporters. These are the anti-establishment candidates, Yang, Tulsi, and Bernie. Yeah, I know. Bernie's campaign hasn't been too nice, not nice enough, at least to the Tulsi camp. I know Tulsi and Bernie get along, but on a matter of supporters, the progressive side hasn't stood up enough for Tulsi, absolutely. And also not enough for Yang. Yang has been hit by corporate establishment media nearly, or maybe harder than Tulsi. I'm not sure how they rank up against each other, but both have been omitted from polls, both have been called the wrong name or the wrong picture, put up in coverage for them on establishment media. Tulsi has been called a Russian puppet, Yang not, but Yang has had totally different kind of attacks coming at him. We need to start uniting, because the establishment is going to unite very soon, very hard. You're going to see Warren drop out because she's going down in the polls, and some of her support might be going away from Biden. Yeah. Now that they've ruined Warren as a candidate, as a viable candidate, and they've caused a divide between her supporters and the Bernie supporters. Now they're going to pull her out of the race. She's going to be the first one to go amongst the top 4 or 5. And she's going to endorse Biden. I promise you that. She's going to endorse Biden. This is the big problem. And that's why it hurts. Realizing not only that she stabbed Bernie, but that she's not on his side. She's not a friend. She is going to endorse Biden. This become very clear to me. And then you're going to have Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar drop out simply because Biden has just been the most resilient. And even though he's a terrible candidate, the others have just not managed to pick up. And so they're going to unite behind Joe Biden. And a lot of that establishment, white, affluent voter group is going to go to Joe Biden. And we need some of that support, a good chunk of it, to start going to Bernie Sanders. We need Tulsi's support as much as we can get, and we need Andrew Yang's support as much as we can get. Because otherwise, anti-establishment doesn't have a chance. We need to get together. You will see the other candidates dropping out and endorsing Biden. And when you see that, you know it's time for us to unite as anti-establishment. Yeah. Positive signs, positive things. I was somewhat afraid that this whole Warren debacle might pull supporters away from Bernie Sanders. That's what it was designed to do. It does hurt regardless, but it's reassuring to see that the American public sees through this whole media setup, rigged setup against Bernie Sanders, that they went so over the top that people said, this ain't fair. Even Morning Joe had to admit, this wasn't fair, this was a setup, and it's unbelievable that Bernie Sanders would say something like that. So Bernie's up in the polls, has gained in the latest polls, I think 2% after the debate. So it's going in the right direction, and people are noticing that the establishment is also going against Bernie Sanders. And he's raised massive amounts in those last 2 days after the debate. 4 million within 2 days. People have shown their support. They feel with Bernie. They feel the burn, but they feel also the tears. They feel the hurt. And there's anger, but there's also pain. And it will take some time for us to heal, but we need to come together as an anti-establishment movement. We need to unite against the likes of Joe Biden. Yeah, over and out.